for joining us today. It is officially Thrive Thursday. I'm Laura Brandao, and today we have three guests who are going to share with us how they have adapted to the new world and are now thriving. Let's meet our guests. From Illinois, we have Carrie McCann. She is an account manager at Proven IT. From Pennsylvania, we have Koretta McGee, and she is the founder and owner of Suddenly Outnumbered Creations. And from Pennsylvania, we have Kim Lengling. She is an author, a freelance writer, and a public speaker. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us today. To kick it off, Carrie, okay. We all know the last few months have certainly brought a lot of change and adaptation. None of us are the same as where we started out almost a year ago now. So please tell us, what was that adaptation that you went through that ultimately has led to now thriving?
Hi, Laura, and hello, Koretta and Kim. So thankful to be here. I'm actually going to rewind it a little past or before 2020.
Awesome.
Because it was the work that I did prior that I think allowed me to get through 2020. And I was doing the math the other day, and I'm like, I've been in sales for 18 years. I'm like, I had time frozen for 5. I'm like, how did it's 18 all of a sudden.
It does creep up on you.
It does. But for me, it was in 2018. I had just had my second child. I was going through postpartum depression. And it was just like one day I woke up and I was like, I lost my passion. I didn't feel fulfilled. And just something was missing. I couldn't quite figure it out. And it was at that point, I decided to make a personal investment on myself. And if I can give any advice out there, in our organizations that we work for are generous and do amazing programs and workshops, and it's great. But when you put your own money and make that investment in yourself, it's a whole different set of goals. And when I started doing, I actually was coaching with Larry Levine, which is how I met you, Laura.
That's right.
And it was the turning point for me. It was kind of opening my eyes. And what I started realizing, have you ever had those days where things are going wrong and it was like, it's everybody's fault but yourself, right? And that was my wake up point when I realized I needed to do some inner work. And right in January of 2020, I had invested in another life coach, and we started working on the mindset. I had no idea how much negative noise I had going on in my mind, from the fear of being myself, being judged, wanting to be seen, accepted. What will people think? And it held me back. And it was one of those, one day it was like a aha moment. And that inner work, that personal investment that I made on myself got me through one of the toughest years of my entire life. And if I wouldn't have gone on this journey, I don't know where, I would have been, but I'm thankful that everything lined up, and the coaching and doing the inner work. But what I've also learned, it's an ongoing process. Those negative thoughts still come up every day, but now I'm recovering more quickly. I'm not letting it bring me down days or months or some areas years.
So Carrie, let me ask you, for people out there listening,
Sure.
What are a few tips that you actually do? Because you're correct. It happens every day, right? Every day those negative thoughts pop into our heads. So what are a few quick tips that you could provide?
You know what? One of the tests that I did at the beginning was recognize when those negative thoughts come up. And it was actually, you're supposed to bite your tongue, like internally, like just bite your tongue. And then I realized all day, I'm like, wow, I'm biting my tongue all day. And then it made you stop and think like, well, why is something triggering that? And I realized, it had nothing to do maybe with that project or that individual. There was something going on deep inside that I had unconsciously knew. So when you start realizing when they're coming up, you're like, wait a minute, there's more to this. And then you almost layer it back. What's going on? You peel it back. And to both of my coaches, and it's a work in progress. Something that I'm probably gonna have to do daily, right? And it's when you learn and can grow, it opens up so much more. And
It
I
gives
mean,
you clarity, right? Gives you
oh,
clarity.
peace,
Mm-hmm.
just you're calm,
Yeah.
and you're now, it's almost like reintroducing myself to myself.
Isn't that
It's like,
beautiful? Isn't
oh,
that a wonderful thing?
powerful, powerful. No longer, those, they creep back up where it's
Of
like,
course.
oh, what are people going to think if I post that? But you know what? It's more coming in with confidence that, yes, I'm going to post that because this is me. And I'm realizing that there's so many more out there that feel the same way, and to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, because not everybody's on the same page, right? And you're going to find that. But if you surround yourself with like-minded individuals that are on that same journey and that same path, that's what you need. So sometimes you got to look at that circle too. And that's exactly what
I
I've done.
have a saying that you can't speak butterfly to a caterpillar.
I love it. I love it.
Because if you think about that, when you're at one stage and maybe someone is at another, now if they're going through that metamorphosis, you can certainly help them. But
Mhm.
some people don't want to go through the metamorphosis. They
And
want to stay there.
I've had those conversations too, and you'll quickly realize when you're just not on the same page, and then you just have to, okay, and then you walk away.
That's right.
Right.
So Carrie, okay, so that's beautiful and love it. So now fast forward, you've done this inner work. It's a daily journey, right? It's never over. We're always doing our inner work. So now tell us, as this year of 2020 was unfolding and, kind of everything is piling on. What did you do from the lessons you were learning, and how have you made it through this adaptation of this new world that we're in?
When I could start being my true self and not questioning myself. So with my clients, what I found is I was having way more deep, meaningful conversations, which led into, really finding the solutions in the pain that they were going through. I was listening better. I wasn't going through the motions. And it's not that I wasn't given, it's not like I was giving horrible customer service before, but it was just different. And my clients notice it. They see the shift and they see the change, and just the conversations that have came out, things I didn't even know about them, because you know what? I never took the time to ask. And now the relationships I'm having with my clients are on a whole nother level.
Oh, that's awesome. And it really is that when you keep hearing in the back of your head that, oh, I shouldn't say that because this person may think this of me, or I'm going to make a mistake, or, oh, who am I to think that I know what I'm speaking about? Because of that chatter in your brain, you couldn't focus on your client. So once that calmed and you had clarity, you were able to really put that on the relationships and developing and listening and identifying solutions. And that provided that bond with your clients.
Absolutely. And to give any motivation out there, for those in sales, because we're still in this, right? It's still a struggle every day. We're starting new quotas. It's a new year. There's new pressure. The advice I can give is, when you stay true to yourself, those quotas go over here. Because when you're doing the work and you're really listening, it's gonna come. The opportunities are gonna arise. People are gonna talk. People are gonna introduce. Look, I wouldn't be here today, right, if I wasn't on that workshop and met you. So when you can really tune into yourself, the opportunities are there. I finished top 3 in my company last year. Thank you. And it was I don't look at, I mean, 2020 was a challenge, but when I look at the conversations that I was able to have with my clients, we found amazing solutions to some really struggles that they had. And that, when you get that passion back, I mean, it flows. So it's been a wonderful journey, a wonderful
Wow.
journey.
Well, that's the joy of what we do every week with Thrive Thursday, is that we know many people were negatively affected of 2020.
Oh,
We
yeah.
all know that. We know everything is different, right? Nothing is the same as before all this happened.
Right.
But yet, some of the lessons that we've learned and some of the changes that came about actually will ultimately make us all better. So it is wonderful to hear that, Carrie. All right, Koretta, let's hear it. Tell us about change that happened. Tell us how you made it through and you are now ultimately thriving. And I also have to know, when Mia introduced you last week, she told about how the first time she saw you in action, just doing what you do best and providing your passion, she knew she had to follow in your footsteps and that you've been a mentor to her. So I do want to back up a little bit to understand some of that and then tie into this past year.
That makes me feel warm and fuzzy just to hear it, because I don't think I realized how much of an impact I had until then. But I've been an entrepreneur for, at this point, 15 and a half years. And it's something that's always kind of driven me, is to kind of have that impact on people. I always tell people I like to be edutaining. So you're going to learn something, but you're also going to have fun at the same time, because I do like to kind of spread that joy. 2020, and I'll say for me, my past 15 years has been a constant adaptation. 2020 for me was the year of waiting. I started off the year I was pregnant. I had our final child on February 20th.
Wow. Right before lockdown and all that.
Before the world shut down.
Goodness. Well, congratulations.
6 days after he was born, our middle child sparked a fever of 104 that first day. 6 days later, he was intubated and in Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Oh, so my.
We never had any time to really kind of sit and figure things out. And I always tell people, like, I was waiting for Camden to come home. He was literally in the hospital for a month. And for almost 3 weeks, we didn't know if he was going to come home. So when we got him home, I'm like, okay, well, I'm waiting for stuff to go back to normal. I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for that. I'd put my business on hold. I put my life on hold. And it was literally a period of waiting, because like I could remember thinking like, oh, okay, you know what? In a few months, we'll all go back to normal. So I'm going to start back up then. And it's interesting because we can fast forward a couple months. In November, my husband's stepmom passed away. We never would have expected anything like that. When I started to think about it, like, you know what, today is what I have to focus on. Yeah. And I started to kind of come out of my shell and realize, instead of like, when people say like, oh yeah, Coretta, when the world opens back up, we're going to do this. Don't wait. We need to do this now, because who's to say that we're going to have that time in a couple months? Who's going to say what it's going to look like? Everybody keeps waiting like, oh, for the new normal. I think for me, I adapted when I realized that I had to live in the present, as opposed to waiting to go back to what I was used to, because what I was used to was great, but what I can say I've been through is what makes me unique. And I think that really makes it. And it's just kind of, I pride myself right now on reminding people, like, don't wait on anything. Do it today, because you don't know who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. Because whoever would have expected a 5-year-old to almost not make it through the stuff that they said, like a kid, what wouldn't affect the kid.
So Koretta, was it COVID?
Yeah, in hindsight, that's what it was. And we didn't know for the longest, because they also couldn't adequately test kids. Yeah. But it was the hardest thing in our life to go to, and where it should have been so happy because I had a newborn. Yeah. But at the same time, my oldest daughter, we had to send her to stay with my parents a couple, like almost 200 miles away. We were in the hospital. My husband and I made sure that he was never there alone. Even if he couldn't, see us, we just would talk to him. And then I'm holding this newborn, of which people are like, well, Coretta, you can't take a newborn to the hospital, but you also can't choose which kid to not like be with. So it was a very interesting year. And when I just think about that, I got through it, it tells me that I can do anything. as long as I focus. I think one of my phrases is like, someone told me this a long time ago, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I literally like would try and compartmentalize like, hey, okay, you know what? I just need to do this, this, and this. And I would just do everything in small pieces in order to function and keep my sanity. So
Wow.
that was my year.
What an incredible story. And thankfully everything is
Yeah.
okay and
Yes.
everyone is well now and all of that. But what valuable lesson, right? What valuable lesson that we all had to learn the value of every single day, right?
Yep.
And that what we thought some things were so important weren't
They
important
weren't.
anymore. You know, the family was important, our health was important, the time that we, you know, and then of course we did appreciate that if we did have a job and if our businesses were, my goodness, that was valuable. That job that maybe we complained about, now we're like, oh, thank God, you know, thank God we still have it, you know. So I think we all treasured all of that. And I think that's valuable because, you know, week over week, sometimes we have this conversation of, if everything, I sometimes I'll say, if the magic wand came out and everything went back to before that, would we want to truly go back? And most people say, no.
We're smarter now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. And I will say, even though I have men on the show too, but I can say this because it's all the ladies at the moment, I think the women adapted to it better. I think we're used to kind of handling like whatever comes our way, we've got it. And I think the women really stepped up to say, all right, no problem. Whatever you throw at me, we're going to handle this. So kudos. And Koretta, what an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Kim, I know you've been holding back, right? A couple of times I've been telling you, don't tell me the story. Now we got to hear it. Tell us the story.
2020, let's see here. It was, of course, an interesting year. I was working full time as a marketing manager, and I've got 25 years of sales and marketing. That's my background. That's what I've done. And then, you know, the world changed as we know it, and work life changed. And then I was diagnosed with not a rare form, but a very uncommon form of diabetes.
Oh.
And I'm not one who has ever been overweight. I'm tall and lean, and so I was surprised. I mean, what do you mean I have diabetes? You know, I don't eat constantly. I'm not really overweight or anything, and it's an uncommon form. But it took them about 6 months to figure it out.
Oh.
And so I was getting sicker and sicker. But then you've got all this COVID going around. So I'm going, well, what is it? What is happening to me? I lost 36 pounds, and so I became a bit skeletal.
Wow.
And had to take a medical leave of absence from work, and unpaid. I'm a single income. It's just me and my dog.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, a little nugget of fear started wiggling in there.
Sure.
You know, going, oh, what am I going to do? And then while I was on my medical leave, I was let go from my. So that was another one you just kind of went, oh, all right, well, you know, here comes another little nugget of fear. And so dealing with that and going through that, everyone else was filled with fear as well. And then I have my family. They're fearful for me because of my health. And oh my gosh, now you don't have a job. And so everyone else was throwing their fears at me too. And I was literally sitting on my back porch over the summertime. And I sat there and said, you know what? Fear's just floating everywhere. You can almost see it in the air. And I just couldn't stand it anymore. And so I literally said, I am not going to live in fear. I refuse to live in fear, and I'm going to let it bounce. I am letting fear bounce. And that little phrase that I came up with while sitting on my back porch has stuck with me since then. And I share that with people when they start, you know, people, they just need to vent, you know, and they need people to listen to them at times. And they're like, you know, oh, this is going on with me and this, and, you know, what am I going to do? And I just said, and sometimes I go, well, you have to let fear bounce, because you can't fear and trust at the same time. You can't worry and trust at the same time.
And fear is a liar.
Because
Fear
it's
will
fire.
continue to build and overwhelm you to where you can't think rationally. So,
Exactly.
mhm.
Yes. And I'm a veteran, and I live with PTSD
Uh,
through a traumatic experience
of
that I went
course.
through while serving. And so that kind of came into play too, because all of a sudden you're at home all the time,
Yeah.
24/7. You got a lot of thoughts going on. And so I learned very quickly all those little triggers and those little nuggets of fear that were coming at me. I'm a very visual person. So I said, okay, I'm ill. I'm not well. I have to get my health figured out first. Work on my mindset at the same time and let everybody else's stuff bounce. Because, and I felt, and I think as women, we feel this, we feel guilty
We
if we
do.
put ourselves first.
Very much so.
And I'm going to be 53 years old here soon. And this year or last year was the only time I really can remember my entire life saying, Kim, it's all about you now. It's all about you now. And it had to be. And did I have that little selfish feeling, you know? And then I had to keep saying, nope, that's another nugget of fear. Let that bounce. So a couple months ago in November, and then I got COVID. So that.
Okay, Kim. All right, I got to get to the thriving part.
I
Let's
know,
get to
I am. I'm
All
thriving.
right.
So all of November and December, I was home quarantined with COVID.
Oh no.
So no holidays. It was just me and my dog. And over that time, I started writing like crazy. I had all these thoughts and stories coming. So I've been writing like crazy. So during that time frame and in the last 6 months, I've had 2 articles published in a global
Aw.
magazine. I made the cover of a global magazine. I started a 3-book faith-based series called When Grace Found Me. And the first book was literally just published and released 2 weeks ago.
Yay!
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. And I started my own podcast towards the end of November, and it's called Let Fear Bounce.
There you
And
go.
haven't been doing it very long, but I've had 20 guests so far
Awesome.
already, and they're just sharing how they have worked through their fears and over their fears, and how they've been able to strap their armor on and let those those little poison darts of fear bounce. So that's it was a very difficult time, but I had amazing opportunities also placed on my path. So everything worked the way it was supposed to. And
Well,
I look back, I'm like, let fear
but
bounce.
you know that they say that the hardest, we'll go back to the caterpillar again. The hardest part of getting to something good is the pain you have to go through to get through that part of it to get to the good part. There is never an easy transition. Just like Carrie had to go through difficulty, Koretta had to go, everyone had to go through the difficulty to get to the better part. And that's the lesson for everyone to know, is that it doesn't magically just appear, but there are things coming to us at all times. You just said it. There's opportunities, there's chance meetings, there's a networking. All of a sudden you meet someone and you're like, where did that person come from? But now I know why they've arrived. So you do have to pay attention that even in those dark times, even when it makes no sense, that you don't think it's ever going to turn, it does turn. But everyone said it. It starts with how we control, how we see the situation, and letting fear bounce and allowing us to swat away those negative voices and be able to get past that. Our mindset is what gets us through it. So go ahead, Kim.
There was another phrase that I had kept coming in my mind, and I kept using that a lot. Besides "let fear bounce," was because so many people were going through. They were so stressed and so anxious all the time. And I kept saying to them, and these are some dear friends of mine from church, and I'd be like, dear heart, you're in a storm right now. Are you forgetting how powerful storms are? Do you forget how much strength there is in a storm? You're in a storm, but you're also the strength of it too. And That's been stuck in my head, that visual of being in this like a tornado, but you've got your own power too. And
You
we
do.
can't forget that. You know, there's strength in the storm, and you can be that strength. You can be the one that busts through at the other side, being able to help someone else with your experience.
And that's exactly why we share these stories. That's the whole reason why, because there's people that need to hear the stories in order to know that they relate to what you've gone through and they can also do it. All right. And that leads me, perfect transition there, Kim. All right. To the strength part. This is my most favorite part because I get to hear from each one of you what your unique superpower is. And for everyone out there, you know that I do ask every guest to ask a loved one or someone that cares about them what their superpower is, because as much as it's great for us to say it, boy, there is such beauty in hearing someone tell us what it is. So, Carrie, please share with us, what is your superpower?
Well, and even to rewind back in time, Larry Levine, my business coach, actually had me do this
Oh,
a few years ago. So I kind of took it from the present to see if anything changed in between. But like the two areas, and I even asked my clients the same question. The two areas was genuine
oh,
and organized. Because here's the thing, like life is busy, it's messy, you know, bringing the authentic self to the table is one thing, but can we get it done being organized? So it I it was it was good feedback. And sometimes we take those little things like, is it noticed? Does it mean,
yeah.
and the more and more, just working with my clients over time, and even my husband who just got home with the kids, if you hear some kids screaming, but it's it's just really it's going back to just being yourself. And that shines through, right?
So,
It's not,
Carrie, can I ask you a question? Why do
yeah,
you think people struggle with actually being themselves? I'm,
it
I'm
goes
curious what you think.
it goes back to those same questions earlier. What would people think? I think we that fear, right? We got to surrender that fear because, we over time, from being in childhood, to where we are now, those are some things that we've watched maybe or have seen that we've held on too tight. I mean, I got to tell you this story. I took, okay, proven if you're listening here. They made me do a sales aptitude test, right? And I failed the sales aptitude test because I was a hand holder and I was too
Oh,
nice. That algorithm messed with my head.
oh,
That algorithm told me, and I believed it, that I wasn't going to be successful. And I didn't realize how much I hung on to what that one test said
wow.
about me. So we unintentionally, unconsciously believe some things we hear, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's when those doubts and those fears sneak in and overcome you. So when, Kim was talking about finding your just breaking through, it's almost like kind of taking charge back, like, oh no, that sales aptitude test, let me write one for you, what it should be,
But honestly, Carrie, the way I look at that is that I actually believe the way we were created, right? How we were born and who we are is actually who we're meant to be. Where things go wrong is when we try to be something we're not, or when we try to fulfill a role that isn't supposed to be us. So you said it, you said you had that passion, you had that desire, and then you lost it and you had to find it again. But you knew that you had a passion for helping people and being in sales and supporting your clients. And you already had the skills and the ability. Now, of course, we always can get better and we always need to tweak and improve and all that. Of course, that's life learning. But you had inside of you what you needed to be successful in that role you were meant to. And we all have it to all the different things we're supposed to be when you're in the right thing. So you're correct. There is no such thing as a test for life for
No,
who we're supposed to be, because we were created exactly the way we were supposed to be. That's who
absolutely.
we are.
It's
That's
going back
why,
to that.
Carrie, I'll use the
Yep.
words. Another Thrive Thursday guest always said this. Be unapologetically Carrie.
Yes.
Unapologetically Kim, Koretta, Laura.
Yep.
That's who we are.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, Koretta, let's hear the superpower.
This was actually fun. I probably asked like too many people because I asked 3 and I got 3 different things, but it was good because I learned about myself. They all fit, I promise. So I'm creative, I'm engaging, and I have discernment. Those were the 3 that stood out. And they fit together because people always tell me, Koretta, you're great. People feel calm when they're talking to you. They feel calm and they'll tell you anything. You can get any group of strangers together and they're going to tell you their whole life story and with no qualms about it. And that kind of built into the engagement piece, but it also was good because I'm discerning. Like at this point in my life, I'm also really good at knowing when to step back and just listen to people and just be a good judge of character and deciding how far they're going to kind of get as far as my friend list. I'm trying to teach my 8-year-old the difference between associates and friends right now, but I'm good with that. And I think it was nice too when somebody said that, Koretta, you're creative. I can give you one idea and you're not going to overshadow mine by bringing it to light. And that made me feel good because like, that's the thing is back where we're always thinking like, oh, I don't want anybody to think like, oh, I'm judging them because I don't want to be judged. I feel really good that they're telling me I'm a good listener. That's what that kind of translated for me is I'm a good listener and helping them figure out what they really wanted.
Do you know how valuable that is?
Yeah.
Extremely. I mean, actually, all of that. You sound. It sounds to me like you're the trusted. You're the person that is there to hear. You're not there to fix them. You're not there to judge them. You're not there to tell them, oh, well, if only you did this, you would be better. No.
I want to help them find their voice.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is awesome. And how wonderful is it to hear that, right? It's really great to hear that from people that care about you. All right, Kim, superpower.
So I asked more than 1 or 2 people as well. And the ones that came back were strong, inspiring, and a poet with my words, with my written word.
Beautiful.
That was very humbling. It was very humbling. I'm still, this is one thing I work on personally is taking compliments, accepting compliments without trying to explain it away. I'm
or actually trying to come up with a compliment for them because you don't know how to accept it, right?
Right. So I'm learning to, I literally have to take a deep breath and just go, thank you.
That's right.
And that's it.
And I bet every one of us on here has a problem with that, more than likely, right? Mm-hmm.
I know I do.
I do too. So thank you, Kim, for sharing that because that's something that we don't speak about a lot, but yet it's very real. It's something as women, we just feel like we should always be speaking about everyone else and we should always be complimenting everyone else. But when someone says it to us, it's almost like, is that true? Are they just being nice? Are they just trying to be nice? Do they want something? Are they trying to sell me something? Are they trying to get me to join something? There must be another reason. So that is a great lesson. I love that. And that's wonderful. And the strong, we definitely, especially if you're bouncing those fears, that takes great strength and great inspiration also. So all of that is wonderful. Very good. Well, ladies, you are awesome. You are absolutely amazing. And I know I've learned so much and it really is truly a joy. So now I get to hear who will join me next Thursday. So Carrie, who do I have a pleasure of meeting?
Well, I'm going to nominate Stacy Wilkin. She's actually, so when I was talking about, surrounding yourself with your circle that has like-minded, she's the one that urged and pushed me to enter into the workshop for the mindset. If it wasn't for her, I won't be here today. So it's Stacy Wilkin.
That's wonderful. I love that. And that's the kind of stuff Just like I told the story about Mia with Koretta, we all have the ability to make a difference in other people's lives, even when we don't realize it. So that's why we have to continue to do that, because we are every day positively or negatively affecting others. So I love that. Can't wait to meet her. All right, Koretta, who do I have the pleasure?
So I'm going to nominate Regina Gibbons. And I've known Regina, I guess at this point, maybe about 6 years, but she actually has a nonprofit for kids.
Oh, wow.
And it's been amazing to watch her thrive, like truly thrive, and really kind of change her model during COVID. I thought she was amazing before, but just to see her keep all of this together, it's amazing. And I'm actually on her board of directors because I truly believe in everything that she does. And it's magical. Like, she really cares about others. And I think that's really important. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Can't wait to meet her. And Kim, who will I be meeting?
I am going to be bringing towards you, her name is Letitia Montgomery, and I actually just met her recently through the woman who nominated me to come on here, this show with you. We're all members of a Christian authors group online.
Awesome.
Facebook. And so we all kind of connected that way through as being Christian authors and speakers and things like that. And she's an empowerment speaker and a best-selling author, and she's got a great message. I think she'll be a wonderful guest.
Fantastic. Can't wait to meet her. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being part of Thrive Thursday. Keep thriving out there, be well, and continue to share your light with the world. Take care, ladies.
Thank you.